also be set to let's do 200px. And then also, because we wanted it to be rounded, we have to also set a border radius to that. And to make it round, you need 50%, right? So 50% will make it circular. And then when you look at the other one, it has that thin white border around it. So we want to also create the thin round border. So we say border is going to be 2px, a solid, that's the thickness of it, 2px, and then the color is going to be white. Okay, so you can see that white color around it. Then the image inside it, you can see the image itself is not centered, so you can only see the hair of the person. So let's target the image in that container. So div side profile dash image, and then the img inside it should have a height of 100% and then a width of also 100%. So in that way, the image would fill in the container, its parent container, precisely in its parent container. So now we have that image showing up there. Also, because we want to stack this on top of the image, on top of the summary, we have to also look at the container, the parent container they are all lying in, and then display that container to be flex. Okay, and then define the flex direction to be column. So let's go in here and then check that side content. So it means, yeah, so you see the image is in this div, and then we also have another div here, and they are all inside this div with a class of side content. So it means on this parent div, when we set it to be a flex div, then it means that each child element will also flex. They will become flex items. So eventually the image would be stacked on top of the summary element, okay, the div containing the summary. So let's go into the style sheet and then go into the div content here. We have display flex here, but by default flex is going to go horizontal, right? So let's do this by saying what, flex direction to be column, so that it would bring this to the top and then the other one to the bottom. So we are just defining the flex direction on that container, causing each element to be flexed, right? Then we also have the child elements here, because they are child elements and they are now becoming a flex element. We can actually target them, and this is the container that targets the image. This is a container that targets the image. So we can tell it to have a margin of top is 0, but then the left and then the right should be auto. So by doing that, this element will be, sorry, I'm clicking on a different thing. So I have to click on the style sheet. So this image will now be centered, nicely centered, just by saying that, you know what, make the left side auto, make the right side also auto. So it means whatever available space it has, it will try to drift it, And because we are saying make the left auto and make the right auto, this will try to use available space. This place will also try to use available space, and thereby moving the element itself to be in the center, exact center of it. Okay, good. So we now have this. Let's compare that to what we have here, and it looks like we have achieved what we needed at the top there. But then if we go into the desktop view, it still stretches out and still have this at the center, right? We would want it to actually change its direction by dropping to the left, and the summary also at the side like this. So anytime we do this, it will drop at the side. Now we need a media query to do that, okay, to automatically adjust the layout anytime it detects a particular screen size. So we'll go to the bottom. We'll go to the bottom and say that this part. So let's pull our content and then go to the very bottom of it and do a media query of screen, and then we'll set a value. The value we are setting, because I have played with it a little bit, I'm capping it at the value of a mean value of 900 px. Okay, so media queries, you can always check it out by coming into the console page, and then when you adjust your screen size, the way it appears when you see it to actually form very well or go bad at a certain breakpoint, a certain value, then you know you can use that to judge based on where you would want to actually set your breakpoint. So I'm also going to use the same method to judge. When I stretch all the way this way, no problem, you see, but then when I go beyond, that is 900 for us, right? So let's say something on tablet and so on, no problem, it can be stacked this way. But then if it goes beyond that, then we are entering into a desktop screen size. So what do? We want this image to drop at the left side and then the content at the right side. So I'm setting it to 910 here, and because I'm setting my media query to 900, it means that the moment I start setting this value, it will automatically change the direction. So now let me do a comment here to show that we are actually doing this for the side content. Okay, and so the div.side content, and it must actually match this. Sometimes you just can copy that. So this is it. The side content is the one hosting the display flex and the flex direction of color. This one. So it's actually the one causing it to be stacked. So if you want to change the direction of that image and then its summary, you just have to set the direction here to row. So that's all you do there. When we come here, we say okay, once we hit this value, we want the flex direction on that container, which is this container, to be row instead of column. You see, so now it's set to row here without any hassle, and the moment I drop below 900, it comes to column. I go beyond that, it goes to row. You can see that. Yeah, so later we can even enhance it so that we apply some little animations to that, so that anytime it's dropping, there will be some animations applied to it to make it look smooth. Okay, but then that is not the purpose of this particular exercise here. So we can add that to it as we build in more exercises. The next thing we also want to look at is, so looking at the whole concept here, it looks like we are okay with this. Let me see if everything is, yeah, so everything is cool. When you compare, it looks cool. Good. Then we'll move on to this part. Let's create the footer part before we come into the cards. So we are going into the footer container to do that. We also have a footer component here. We have not yet added the footer component, okay? So we need to also add that particular component into our main layout. So let's see exactly where we would add that. So let's open up the home component, and then at the bottom of in its div, because you can only have one parent element, okay? So below this section, it has to be below the main content, the content section. So we'll come down here and say footer, okay? When we type that, we can import that. Let's see, did we export the footer? Yeah, export default footer. So we have actually exported the footer, but we can't see, I can't actually see the footer here. So let's see. Good. So by clicking on the footer.js and saving it again, I'm able to now see the footer component. So I can auto import. Other than that, I need to do that myself by trying to import it myself, okay? So I now have the footer component here. So let's see. You can see it's added here at the bottom of our page. Nice. We now can style the footer by using the style sheet. So let's go into the style sheet here, and then above the media query. So please take note. You see the way we worked on the media query here. So anything you check out and you want it to be stuck in a certain way, you just target the element it's inside in, and then just come into the media query and change that here. Just work or apply it here. So that is how media queries work, okay? Good. Let's now apply the footer settings. So we need to put in a comment just to help us identify where all the components and their stylings fall in. So that's going to be the footer section, okay? We'll target the footer element itself, and then we'll display it to be flex. When we display it to be flex, these elements would be stacked horizontally, right? So let's save that. But how? So right now, this is what we are going to do here. You can see the copyright symbol there with the 2024 and my name, which you can also put your name there, has to be stacked on top. So this part is in its separate container, and then this one is also in the copyright is also in its own container. So when you view this, let me go back to the footer container and show you. You can see in the footer element we have this div and that div. So this div is the one with the copyright, and then this div is the one with the content. So the content is the one with the addresses and so on, and then this copyright is the only one added down here with the copyright sign. So if we want them to sit on top of each